I'm fine like this.
Yeah. Nice try.
Okay, let's start with a bit of a biography, each of you. Gesa, first of all, you can tell me if any of this is incorrect. Gesa is a German-Danish furniture and interior designer from Arnsberg, Germany, raised in a family of cabinet makers. That sounds like a fairy tale. I was raised in a family of cabinet makers. She was immersed in craftsmanship from a young age. Her design education spans both Europe and Japan. You studied at the Bauhaus University in Weimar and also the Nagoya University of Arts, right?
Yes.
You gained professional experience at a number of studios, including Jean Nouvel's atelier and the graphic design firm H5 in Paris, as well as Nippon Design Center in Tokyo. And in 2009, you founded your own furniture label, the Hansen Family. And your studio is located in Fontainebleau Forest near Paris. And you've collaborated with such international brands as Villeroy & Boch, Dom Perignon, Armani, Le Mont Saint-Michel, and led interior design projects including Café Compagnon in Paris. And a fun fact, well, actually two fun facts. First of all, one fun fact is you're not married.
No.
We had this
even if ChatGPT is saying
we had this conversation yesterday because ChatGPT insists that she's married.
And I tried to convince him with Simon that I wasn't. And we double-checked with his ChatGPT.
So she kept on entering, like, I'm not married, please, and ChatGPT said, absolutely, I totally get it, I'm going to update, I will not produce another biography with it. And then later I checked and said, yes, she's married. She's married.
I was like, no. So it's not always
Maybe
accurate.
ChatGPT is jealous. It doesn't want you
Maybe
to kind of
ChatGPT is in love with me. That could be.
I mean, oh my God, there's a Hollywood screenplay to be written here. And the second fun fact is that Gesa organizes her apps on her phone by color.
It's true.
Oh my God. So we know people who organize their books on their
Psycho.
bookshelf. I'm not one of those people. I just think it's a bit creepy. But you actually organize your apps kind of by,
Yeah, because I remember things by color. And it's so much easier. I know what color they have, so I find them more easy.
Right.
I don't know, how else would you find them? Is there like another system?
We'll talk later about this. Christopher.
This introduction makes me worried. Fagerström.
Fagerström.
Yeah, that's right.
So Christopher's a Swedish product designer and a partner at Note, a design studio, the award-winning multidisciplinary practice based in Stockholm. Since joining the studio at its founding in 2008, he's played a key role in its development across product, furniture, and interior and furniture design. Your work is known for its balance of expressive form, functionality, and craftsmanship, and your clients include Tradition, Fritz Hansen, Lamholtz, and Fogier. And you live in Hammarby. Listen, how do you pronounce
Go
that?
ahead.
Sturesat.
Hammarby Sjöstad. Very simple.
With, I promise you, this whole talk isn't going to be just about me making fun of other languages. Your partner is an architect. You have two daughters. It's too complimentary. I'm going to stop reading this now. It just, And I thought about fun facts about you. One is you like a bit of ugly. You like it, right?
Exactly, 10%.
You like
ugly.
10% ugly. I had a very interesting conversation with you when I came to see you in your studio. You sort of said, I don't like products to be like just across the board beautiful. I like them to be a little bit ugly because that keeps it interesting. This kind of tension. Mm-hmm. And another fun fact, well, two other fun facts. So one is you have a golf handicap of 9. I don't know what that means. He told me to say that. Yesterday, he was like, I want you to make me sound urbane. And so like, okay. You can ask him about that afterwards yourself. Another fun fact, you were a pool boy for a while, right?
Yeah,
you were the hot pool boy.
That's so sexy.
Yeah.
You were the hot pool boy who all the kind of older women wanted to seduce.
Yeah, that's right. I was a pool boy in Austria for 2 seasons.
What happened?
Nothing happened.
Confessions of a Pool Boy. That'll be the next the next episode. Okay, you can tell us. You can tell us later. So listen, we were talking to Lutz there about excellence, about design excellence. I wanted to start by just drilling down a bit into that kind of idea of excellence or good design. What is good design? How's your view of good design changed over the years in your practice?
Me first, I guess.
Yeah.
No, but I think that when I was in school 20 years ago, I was very determined. I knew everything. But I think that the older I get, and also the more experienced I get, the more ambivalent I get. I mean, it's almost like the more I learn, the less I know, which is so weird because now I have a hard. I don't know what good design is. 15 years ago, I would definitely describe it for you, but now I have no idea. There's so many. I also realized in the design process that there's 1,000 different solutions to a design problem. Thousands. But 15 years ago, I thought it was one solution. And you have to find that one solution. And I think the same thing with good design. Good design can be solving a function, solving a problem. It could be creating that aesthetic object that make you all warm and fuzzy inside. It could be so many different things. I don't have an answer.
Gesa?
I think because I also do a lot of interior design, and with the years, I kind of found out that sometimes I feel really good in spaces that were grown, and that I felt uncomfortable in spaces that were newly designed. And it gets stronger with the years because there are so many, for example, when we go into a new designed hotel, sometimes you feel so artificial and not grounded anymore. And sometimes when you go into for example, an old English cottage, you feel totally at home. And it's really interesting what makes you feel grounded and what makes it feel real. So for me, I think I talked a lot about it. It's authenticity. I think when it feels authentic, then it's really good design because there's so much, but it's just my sensitivity about it. I think
that's in itself is quite complicated because authenticity means different things to different people. But I often think about, particularly in terms of spaces, about spaces that develop passively over time. So when you go into a new project where everything is a kind of conscious design decision and has been kind of decided on, conceived of at the same time, it doesn't have that kind of, there's layers of,
Yeah, and it's really tricky because you can totally fuck up a project like this. Sorry.
And the concept of a good designer. What does it mean to be a good designer? Does it mean these days? Does it mean having a certain ethical constitution? How's that changed for you over the years?
I think that what sort of served us quite well is that we're kind people, and I think that we only choose clients to work with that are also kind people, and I think that the result of that is going to be good design, and that I think that's what's required of being a good designer. There's so many star architects out there, star architects that aren't coming through as kind people, but I think that the kind people are the good designers.
Okay, so kindness produces better projects?
Yeah, kindness and getting along with the client is a really good part of it. It's kind of I compare it to the honeymoon phase in the beginning of a project. And I think when the honeymoon phase, I don't have another vocabulary to say this, but if the honeymoon phase is fucked, you should not do the project. Because you can feel it at the beginning of a project. If there's something, you have to have this love about it. If this honeymoon phase doesn't work, the project will be a mirror of this afterwards. And when you're young and you need the money, you have to work with people where you don't feel the connection. And because you asked me once if I was ashamed. Of course, like we have all done projects that we are ashamed of. Because we are young and needed the money. but I think when you get older and when you can start saying no, it's a really important moment to do good design.
Yeah, but I agree. Yeah, what she said.
But what happens, sometimes that relationship it starts out great, but it can turn sour. I mean, can you rescue a relationship with a client when it's gone south?
I mean, definitely. It's like I think that we only want to work with the clients that we can work with for years and years and years, because it becomes, especially. I mean, I'm talking from like a product design perspective, where it's almost like a family business. It's like a family thing. You get to know them so well during a process, because like creating a chair or a table is not like a 2-month project. It's like a 2 or 3 or 4 year project. So you get to know them quite well, and there's so much trust involved in that process. So of course we're gonna like hit bumps in the road along that path, but I think that with that sort of respect that we require from our clients and the sort of respect that they require from us, we can always it's like a traditional relationship. We have like ups and downs, but we try to mend them.
Yeah, I would just remembered an anecdote for that, because when what you don't know when you're a younger designer, I think, is for big brands they have these huge marketing teams, and sometimes they take you and they turn you into something. And like when you're younger, you don't know this, so you get into this machine of the marketing team, and then they throw something out. And when my brothers saw what was coming out of this, they were like, "You look like a flower fairy." It's not you. And so it's funny, because at one point you have to also start to design your person. Like for example, with this client, afterwards I showed up always dressed in leather, just so that they could never do it again. Because otherwise it gets out of your hand.
Yeah.
And so you have to be really careful.
Really interesting, isn't it? You have at that point you become commodified, and you don't have control over the presentation of your image. They wanted to position you as this kind of ethereal flower fairy.
Yeah, and that
princess.
was tough. Like, and I remember I had shootings afterwards for other stuff, and I decided I would just go in black leather. Just to nothing can happen to me in black leather. They cannot do this again. And they said, "Do you have any change? Like, did you bring other clothing?" And I was like, "No."
I've got red leather.
But there is something. I think at one point, if you have, I think design is not only in your work, but at one point it also becomes the whole story of your life in a way.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's also like easier in the beginning of your career that they want to shape you, but then there's like some sort of like an axis. When you reach like an axis, they don't want to shape you anymore, but they want to like make the most out of you, which is also like a weird thing, because then you're like becoming like twice of yourself, and all the negative stuff as well.
Yeah. Oh, clients. Oh, God. I mean,
well, it's also ourselves that we're like, we know what works and we just go with the flow.
What's the craziest, or most absurd or annoying thing that a client has asked you to do?
And now it's your turn. Go ahead.
I have to think about it. There was so much. I'm still traumatized. No, I think in interior, what's tricky is sometimes when you work for private clients, you design every space for it. I think I can't say it. But I mean, you are asked to design spaces. Yeah.
Okay, I can go.
No, but I think it's so private. And oh my God, I hope they never see this video. But you're asked to design like very private spaces and videos, and you get into their thing. And I
I don't know what you're trying to say to me. What are you trying to say? It.
No, but
No one's gonna watch this later.
I was already asked to design like a certain room for special activities, which was interesting to
Oh,
design.
wow.
But-
Oh, yeah.
But it made me. I learned a lot. I didn't know that all
It was
of this
A for your client. It was A for the client.
No, but I think something that is very fun about interior design is that you learn a lot about your clients and they let you into their most private insights. Because,
right.
And
Yeah.
it's interesting. But it's also
Yeah.
sometimes, I think I didn't know how to deal with it at the beginning when the design process started. But it was really beautiful at the end.
And then
proud.
and then you become their therapist, and they're almost like a priest as well, hearing their confessions and.
Yeah, and it's also you
a
can also like private clients are fighting so much because it says so much about their couple. So you always have to be very
Oh, yeah.
diplomatic. That is
Yeah.
like that's the most annoying part, I would say.
Yes.
I had like couples
like a-
splitting up. Oh,
Yeah.
I had
supposed to be-
couples splitting
yeah,
up in front of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not because of me.
I often think people engage in these projects of having their homes redesigned to try and save their relationship in a way.
Yeah.
I think this is often it's
Yeah, getting kids and designing houses.
yeah, exactly. Yes, having children is sometimes also a symptom of that.
But I
And
think it's
crazy
like a
clients?
huge difference actually. Where I mean, we do interiors and we do products and we do design direction. So I think that my part at No is we're never that personal in a sense.
Yes.
But I know that the interior team are. So it's sort of like recognize not exactly that, but like similar issues. But I think that what the most absurd thing coming our way is as soon as we design a product that becomes a hit, we get briefs coming in from competitors do the same thing for us. And
Right.
it's like, it's almost like an insult. They want to
Yeah.
prey off like the last work you did
Yeah,
for
it's like
someone else that invested like,
Like
2 years.
Mission Impossible 5.
Yeah,
you know,
like-
like we want more.
It's
same.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you say? No.
No.
Okay. So let's talk about other people's work. When you encounter when you're at a fair, for example, and you see let's just focus on furniture for a second. When you see new collections authored by other designers, what are you always judging? Are you always, or even when you kind of walk into a restaurant or into a hotel lobby or wherever, are you always kind of, are you on the entire time? So every time you sit down, you're like, oh no, this is no good.
Yeah, I said, is it working? Okay, I clicked again. So bad.
You crazy
No,
clicker.
No, but I do judge. I feel very good in very old interiors because I feel like I don't have to judge,
Right.
which is relaxing in a way. When you're in, you also feel not responsible. But in new interiors, of course, you're always on, and you always try to find the good stuff. And when you see the bad stuff, you're bitching in your head about it.
Yeah.
I think.
What you
it's-
mean as in jealousy? Yeah. Envy? Yeah. That's normal.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's no way you can like enter a space like this and you don't judge like every single detail in the interior, also like in the products. But that also comes with like celebration. So when you see something, I mean, just speaking of Stefan Dietz, for example, like when I saw some of the projects that he did, it's like I want
I've
to
never heard of him.
murder the guy because he's so good. So some of the projects, like, it's so amazing.
Who's Stefan Dietz? I've never heard of him.
Never
No, me
heard of
neither.
it. No, I can imagine. But and at the same time, you can be frustrated when you see someone else doing something with the left hand. You know that it's like that. It's so like generic.
Right.
So it's just they just did this, and then it doesn't have any relevance in the
Yeah.
market. Like
What's your? Do you both have like real annoyances about product design, furniture design, things you're like, oh god, that's just awful. I mean,
Yeah,
what really
definitely.
annoys you about?
I mean, this makes me really happy. For example, this chair, because I mean, it looks soft, and when I sit in it, it's so soft. It's like really nice.
Right,
I think that's something that if you see like a hard chair and it's like just a tad bit softer than it appears to be, you said like you get like a little bit happy when you sit in it. And the same thing, if the haptics is telling you that it's something, it should also be that. But if it's the opposite, if it's like a sofa that looks amazingly comfortable, and you sit in, it's like you get punched in your ass.
The Chesterfield.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
For example. But then it's just, you get so annoyed by that.
Yeah. Yeah, so that promise, that kind of visual promise is then delivers in terms of haptics.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a kind of variant of that question. What annoys people about you?
About me?
In a design context. I don't mean like, in relationships. I mean kind of you kind of, obviously you work in a studio, you as well, you have collaborators. What do colleagues and partners really find annoying about you in the game, in the process?
I think it's a total lack of, because I'm very intuitive. And very emotional and very chaotic, but it's really the way I work, and for them it's hard to keep me down. I think I'm like the toddler in the studio. So and I have analytic guys around me who try to keep me in control, which is nice, but I think for them it's not nice.
Oh, okay.
But I'm
Did they tell you that?
Yeah, sometimes. But I think it's also.
Or are they passive aggressive? Do they leave little kind of notes or no?
No, but I know that I need the analytic side. Like Eva has a very analytic side. I call her the Japanese knife in design. But and for me, it's more like I'm really the whole emotional side on the other side. But it's I think you can't, like, some people have both, but. But I'm definitely lacking of this, and I think sometimes for my studio it's hard.
Yeah.
They would.
I was going to say that about you as well.
No, but I think in our studio I mean, when I say yes, people get annoyed because like that means that I'm like picking something that someone else didn't do. When I say no, other people is going to get annoyed. But I think that we have in every project, we have like a sketching phase, which could be like a day, it could be 2 days, it could be 2 weeks, when we just sit at a table and just like drop sketches on the table, like tons of them. And at some point, it's almost like like a sensation. It's almost like when you're standing in an elevator and you hear this like elevator music, it doesn't affect you at all. But in the sketch process, and also with some music, when you hear the music, you just immediately start that your foot starts to just beat with the music. So I think it's the same thing with in the sketch process, that at some point you see something that you react to. And if it's only me reacting, it could be that it's like a bad sketch or a horrible idea or like a really good idea, a nice sketch. But no matter if it's good or bad, it has something. It has some sort of like energy going on. And if I feel it, and I can see that, like, if there are 5 people of us sketching, like, ideating on this, and we start reacting, like, like dancing to the music, it could be like Rammstein, or it could be like really soft music, it doesn't matter. But if you get that sort of like a feeling, like a vibration in the room almost, that decision, you enter like a zone, you zoom in too much, and I think that could be annoying if not everybody in the room is feeling the music. I think that's the most annoying part with me in our studio.
When you hear the music and other people don't hear the music.
Yeah, but I think it's like a thing
where
where
feel the rhythm.
Yeah, but I think it's like a thing that a majority of the people in that space need to feel the music. That's part of like the music or the part of the vibration. But maybe like if there's 5 people, 1 is not going to be part of it. But I mean, it's only natural.
How confident do you guys feel professionally? I mean, you're not, well, I'm not saying you're old, but you have achieved a certain career already. Do you ever feel like imposters?
Yeah, now, for example.
Well, in this precise moment?
Yeah, definitely. No, but I have like a constant imposter
Constantly?
syndrome. Yeah, definitely. I think
That's
it's like part of being Swedish. It's like built into the system. We have like a jantelå, you probably.
Are you Swedish? You're kind of nodding. No, you're not. About the Swedes. What have you heard?
No. Let's not get into it.
Oh,
No, but we have like a thing. Has everybody heard about jantelå? Never. It's like a. It's not a law by like judicial law, but it's like a. Don't pretend to be something. If you pretend to be something in Sweden, then you're gonna get shot down.
Oh,
so I think
wow.
that they're like.
Shut down.
Not shot down, but sort of like, yeah. Not.
yes, literally, you're going to be shot.
Yeah.
That's,
But it's like a thing that you don't want to be that, like the pretender.
yeah, right. Yeah.
So, I mean.
And
I
this is
think
really
that-
ingrained in you. You feel like you can't. You must always have some humility,
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
right, Chechi? Humility, that word. Yeah. Geza, do you feel like superstar? Or do you feel?
No, I think that's so nice about the design world because it's kind of like this very loving niche. Like I think when I see the fashion weeks in Paris, they seem so gnarly,
So what?
so hardcore.
Hardcore. Oh
And
yeah.
I think we're really in a kind of world where it's everybody is kind of nice. So I don't feel very much threatened, and I don't feel like a superstar because we are not superstars. We're like
Yeah.
I would say the average designer trying to do a good job.
Yeah.
I see it more like a craftsmanship, like this idea of doing something well and then being happy when it's well made.
Yeah.
But it's not like in architecture where you really have these huge superstars.
Yeah.
But it's just about doing something well. So when I do something well, I'm really happy about my products. And then
What about the products you're not so happy about? I mean, you mentioned earlier that of course, there are things that we as a design practitioner, that one is later embarrassed about or not. I mean, is your catalog portfolio littered with?
I think it's really. I think I decided once in my life because I'm very chaotic, very emotional. Like everybody who knows me knows that I'm no filter. I can't keep anything back, and so I decided never to be ashamed. So it's really something I rarely feel. I'm not ashamed.
That's very liberating, right?
Yeah, and I'm just thinking. If I did something at one point, I think failure makes you go one step further. You
Yeah.
learn from failure. So
Yeah.
I'm really not afraid to fail. I think it's a process. It's
When-
like in sketching.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, of course, there are a lot of products that I didn't let come out because they were not good enough, but they were always the step to something else. And I think the only thing that sometimes, like I said, the marketing teams, when they take you up and swallow you up and then you come out and you don't recognize yourself, that's something, but it's not in my hands, so I'm not even ashamed about this. I'm just thinking it's part of the process of designing. But I think shame is a really, to not be ashamed is it makes it very fun.
It's kind of a pointless emotional state.
Yeah, because-
shame, I think, in terms of kind of professional work. I mean,
what really annoys me maybe in the design world is I think it's really like it's very normal to say that, I guess, but it's still so hard for female designers.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very male world still, the design.
Still, you
Yes.
think?
And I think that the ultimate proof for that is that we still don't have Me Too in the design world. There's like not one incident. And I mean, in all the other
I mean,
all the other fields,
there is an architecture.
yes,
Fair
but
point.
it's so funny because I mean it's not a free world from this incident, but it's funny how in film and in other industries and in the art world.
And why is that? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I was thinking a lot about it, and I think it's a very male-dominated world still. I was just sometimes it happens to me that I'm a project with other designers, and it's the same project, we do the same job, and you find out later that you get less paid. But you do that, and
Unbelievable.
and it's still happening. And I think I was being raised with two brothers, and I was doing the job of my father. Like I decided to do the job of my father, and I think I'm really thankful to my brothers because they always gave me the feeling that I was equal. And so for a long time I thought it's not a problem, and then I have to say now I really see it's a problem sometimes. I mean, sometimes I also get sometimes the job because I'm the woman, which is
Right.
then a profit of the situation.
Yeah.
But there is...
Oh, really?
there-
You know that as a fact? That sometimes you
Yes.
get the job right?
And they say it also.
Oh, they say it?
Yes. We
Okay.
needed a female judge. Like
Right,
it
okay.
really happens. And then,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's there are not so many, like in Germany, for example, there's Hanne, and there are not so many female designers who like really can live from what they are doing.
Yeah.
And
Barbara and I know that every time we try and kind of compile a program and invite guests, you know, it's yeah, not so easy.
There was a magazine who showed like 2 years ago the selection of the like 20 best architects, and there were only 2 women on that photo, and the 2 women were in a studio with a man, and I wrote to them and I said, it's a little bit hardcore. Like when you see that as a lonely woman designer.
Oh, you said that to them?
Yes, I said
What was
it's like
Oh.
I said that's too much. Like, you just feel like you can never get up that ladder and
Yeah.
be there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it has to change in a way. But it is changing. But it's the one. I think it's the point that annoys me the most. Of course.
Did you ever, either of you, did you ever think, oh, I'm gonna quit this. I'm gonna go and do something else?
No, never.
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 Not even on a bad day.
No.
No.
No, because I think you live design, no? I'm
Yeah.
thinking the whole time. I think like there's always this moment. I really found out that I'm in love with my work because when I have a new project and then you think about it and you think about it and then you're sketching and it gets this mushy element, you don't know what's coming out, and then when you get to this point where you have it, sorry, I'm always moving around my microphone. When you get to this point where you have it, it's such an explosion of joy.
This euphoria.
And then
yeah.
afterwards, you have like butterflies in your stomach for
Yeah.
days. And
Yeah.
I remember driving my kids to school, and I was thinking, why am I'm feeling so much butterflies in my stomach, and I didn't remember why. And then I remembered it was because of the project. And then I thought, that's so great. I'm in love with my work.
Yeah.
I could never in relationships, you can have bad days, good days, but you still need it.
Yeah. You, Christopher?
Yeah, but
What could you have been if you weren't a designer?
I mean, I had a previous career in
Well, the
film
pool
industry.
boy, we remember that.
The pool boy. Yeah, that was
mean,
a
those-
15-year-long career.
Those pools don't clean themselves.
No,
I mean,
no, no,
somebody
no.
has to do it.
Not the tipsy tourists. They don't remove themselves from the jacuzzi either. No,
Hey.
I had like a previous career in the film industry, like doing post-production work, like retouching and stuff like that.
Oh, animation as well, right?
And animation.
Oh, special effects.
Yeah, special effects.
Wow.
Nice.
And the cool thing is that they're quite similar because the end result is so important. Like the visuals of the end result is so important. No matter if we did like a retouching for a Rammstein video or like a Madonna video, or the end result is like so important. And it's the same thing with part design. It's so important that everything comes through. The client needs to come through. The artist needs to come through. The visual need to manifest the brand. There's so many like, and I think that what I really enjoyed from that industry is the teamwork. And I would never survive as like an individual designer. That would never work for me. I mean, like,
No.
I think I like the ambition of working with team, where you have like a set goal and everybody's like working towards that goal. So I think that that sort of situation that we created for ourselves at Note, I think that is like a dream scenario. I mean, we know that there's so many other studios out there like that have failed and tried, but it's so fortunate. But I think it's like we don't have like a secret formula that makes it work for us. It's just that we think it's fun, and I think the fun part of it is like, if it's not fun, then the project's going to look boring. If it's not fun, the interior is going to be boring. You can tell the interior architects or part designers, you can tell on the result that they're not happy people. I mean, it's like so obvious.
Unhappy people make for unhappy products.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think so too. You can see it on the products. You can see it on the interior.
Yeah.
It's dripping from the walls.
All that negative energy.
Yeah. Yeah, for example, don't you think like when you're like in an Ibis hotel, for example, it feels like you just met a Florida Botox lady who's standing in front of you, nothing is moving. And if you just itch a little bit, there's gonna be like a black hole in any material. Like there's no patina, it will age so badly. It looks like, for me, it looks like these Botox ladies who look at you like too Botox and too lifted when nothing is moving anymore.
Yeah.
And when they have these blown up lips.
Yeah.
But that is also a vision for me, for example, for me as a woman, when I see that an old chair, like an old Charlotte Perriand chair that aged, or like that this patina is so important, I'm thinking I can also have this patina. I can also like
that's nice.
age with it, because actually it has so much more soul. And so for me, because for a woman, aging is still a subject, but I thought maybe patina is so important. I think I will have a really good patina later.
But maybe that's a good
I
direction.
already have some.
But when we talked about the good design before, I think that's something that we encountered lately, that the sort of products that have like a second life through like auction sites or whatever, I think that second life is like the new good design. It's like the sustainability, it's super important. The aesthetics is important, but if it has the quality to be able to have that second life and to like grow naturally.
Yeah, and they get character. I always feel when the furniture is coming out of the atelier and you see it like new, like the wood with no marks.
Yeah.
It's a little bit disturbing.
It is disturbing. Yes,
Yeah.
you're right.
You just want to put it in a kindergarten and let the toddlers like play around it and then take it out again and be like, this is the product.
It's like a pair of trainers. You want to kind of like, if they're too clean and white,
Doesn't
and too,
work.
It's creepy.
And that's so hard about new design and new interior design, because there has to be a soul. And it's true with old furniture, that is a good way
and
to
I think
start.
that's like a hustle with all the producers that we work with now. They all have the same problem. Everybody wants to do something authentic, using like real materials, and it's doable, and they do it. But all real materials, they start aging from the minute you actually like cut the tree down or like take the aluminum from the ground. They start aging or scratching. So what they want to have in the warehouses is not something they can sell in the end, because if the client buys like 10 chairs and they would look somewhat different, like in the coding or the CMF or then the client would just send it back. The companies have to educate the consumers to buy products that are like, the aging process had started from when it leaves the factory.
This is also speaks to your kind of beautiful, ugly
Yeah, exactly.
comment,
And
I
the
think.
individuality also. Because I remember with Hands and Family, since we do massive wood furniture, the client sent a table back because there was a branch.
Yeah, and he's
And
like,
I said, yeah, it was
it's
a tree.
Yeah. It's like when I was in a hotel once, and I was with a colleague of mine, and they complained because there was something floating in the tea, and the waitress said, "Yes, that's a tea leaf." We're like, oh, okay, all right, okay, yeah. I mean, it's insane. But I mean, I remember visiting furniture manufacturers in Japan, and Japanese consumers will not tolerate any creases or any fabric stretched on their sofa. If you see everything has to be like taut skin, like Botox.
That is so funny, because they have this, they have the wabi-sabi culture.
Yeah.
So they should, but that's,
Strange. Maybe it's I don't know. I wondered if for each of you there was a single figure, there was a mentor, there was a person in your kind of professional development who really kind of helped you. Are they there? Are they here?
No, I think he just left.
Oh, he just left. Okay. So not such a great mentor.
No, but
who was
I
that?
think it was Aurélien, but I think he just left from that we worked with. I worked with him at Jean Nouvel. I think he taught me like the basic baby shoes
Oh, right.
and design. But I mean, for mental health, what helps me a lot, because I think design is happening a lot in the subconscious, and And I work a lot with hypnosis.
Do you?
That sounds so.
Yeah.
But I really think because sometimes you can get lost in your big, especially when you're like working a lot alone, like I do, in your anxieties. And I think to work on your subconsciousness is a really important way as a designer. I do a lot of meditation and the subconscious hypnosis that is like talking to you and just putting you into a safe space. And it also works to do sports if you don't want to do sports.
Oh God, you sound like my father. He thinks there's no problem that a
Hypnosis cannot
long,
change.
hard game of tennis won't solve.
No, but I think it is happening a lot now on the inside.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to clear a little bit the fog to grab it. It's like I always compare it to like when you have a glass full of sand and the sand has to go down so that you see the clear water
Right,
again.
that's a nice image. Yeah. And you, Christopher?
Yeah.
Was there someone who was a kind of an anchor, a beacon? I'm trying to think about the
I
metaphors.
think I've like been really fortunate, even like from like an early stage, like met so many people that like offer me opportunities. But I think that we had like a really weird thing. In the beginning, a note we said that we didn't want people to work overtime. Like that was like the goal for us. So when the clock hit 6, you leave. You can't stay. That was like we thought that would be. I don't really know why we just started. We felt like good people, good employers, basically. But like a couple of years later, I realized that the only reason why I got so many opportunities over the years, like in film industry and in different jobs, pool boy job, but is because I put in the extra effort. I mean, when I started like a TV station when I was like 16 years old, 17 years old, doing graphics for the news, I went there. The job started at like 5 in the evening, and you work like late night.
Right.
So I stayed all the night. Nobody was using the computers. I stayed the whole night just to learn everything in that, like on those computers. And then the next job I did the same. So you had to like own your skills basically, and I think that's like a mentality that has like served me quite well. So now we know that people like they do their job in the day hours, but we also know that during the weekend they're gonna like redo it just to make it better for themselves, not for us. Not that the client needs it, but it's so rare that the clients pay for the level of design that you want to actually do.
Right.
They pay like peanuts.
Right.
I mean, if you want to like invest that much time to be really satisfied.
Yeah.
So I think the satisfaction, the extra hours need to be put in for yourself. It's not for the client. It's for you.
Yeah.
There's this book of Richard Sennett, The New Craftsman, where he said, I mean, that's also a really good thing about our job, because we always do a thing from A to Z, like from the first station to the last station. Yeah. And it's supposed, like it has been proven that it makes you happy when you do one thing and you finish it.
Yeah.
And that you, as a designer, you also have this head-hand connection, which also has been proven to be really good for your health, for your mental health.
Yeah.
Because they were saying that in, for example, Japanese craftsmen really have this idea of repeating to do something really well. And they compared it to the Russian craftsmen, where they like sectionated to be more...
the division of labor. Yeah.
Yes, and in the division of labor, the one craftsman who was working on one of the sectors lost his purpose because he didn't see the product from the first step to the last step.
Yeah.
And then they lost their ability to have fun in doing something well.
Yeah. This is also kind of Marxist theory, isn't it? How the workers become divorced from the value of what they're producing, and they don't have to feel like they have a purpose anymore because they just have to focus on one small task in this chain of...
And then it becomes unimportant. And I think that's what makes also our job so great and us so happy.
Yeah, but I think there's a reason why you can actually be unhappy in this business if you don't know the craftsmanship. If you're like only on the top level, like deciding what's good or bad, but you don't really know the process from the A hey to in Swedish, then I think you lose track of it. And I think that we met a restaurant in Zurich last year, restaurant Rosi, and the owner of that restaurant, he's like the funniest guy ever. He said that they had like a process in like, I can't really remember now, but it's like kaltes Wasser, blah 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 something, and it was like, you don't have a say in the final product, in the final dish, if you don't actually put your hand in the cold water. You have to do the dishes as well, or like start preparing the food.
Right.
And I think that's something that is working for us as well. That we sort of like had that thing going because we're like all interested in the actual craftsmanship, but he put words on it.
Yeah, it's a nice way to describe it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What advice would you two give to your younger self? So if you could speak, if you could speak to young Geza who's just starting out, what's the one kind of key piece of advice? Maybe not even a profession, not even something related to design, but could be something about attitude or what? What would you say to your young self looking back if you were to meet her?
Start, Christopher. I have to think about it.
Oh, thanks.
I think cold water is a good point for this because I think I would even more jump into cold water in the sense of just trying things out, because I think at the beginning I was scared to go into new fields. I did it anyway afterwards because I needed the money. But I was very afraid of it in a way. But I think the cold water metaphor is really important in my life because I think when you get out of your comfort zone, there are so many beautiful accidents happening. And I think I was too afraid of that when I was younger. And now I'm not afraid anymore because I got used to it. But I would have maybe taken more risks if I would have known that it brings you further.
Yeah. More risk-taking.
More risk-taking and more like also trying out things that you don't, where you think you can't do it. And it's also about collaborations. I think when you work with other people, it's always making something new and something better, and it's like gaining vocabulary in a way. I remember that I talked to Vincent Daré, who is a crazy interior designer, only doing crazy stuff. And I told him I was coming from the Bauhaus.
Right.
I said I didn't know that you were allowed to do this. And he said, darling, you have to know the rules and then break them.
Right. Yeah.
Which is I think it was a good sentence.
But I think that...
It's like the ugly with you, sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that was like coming to the ugly part where I always been hunting for the unseen, that if you do like a music video or like try to look at, you always have to sort of like break the mold. So the breaking mold thing has been like a key thing. I didn't know what that was like 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But I think that accepting failure as like a good thing would be like a goal, like a advice for myself back then. But also because it took me like 20 years to realize that the ugliness is part of it. We have like a saying, when we design something, it has to be 10% ugly. So we look at the design, but is it, and 10% ugly doesn't really mean that it's ugly, but it's like something it's the nail in your eye that makes you look twice. If you look at a chair in a store and you like it immediately, then you're gonna get tired of it the minute you actually have it in your room. But if you like see the chair on like a website and then you're like 6 months later you see it in a store and in the first reaction is, that's a weird chair. Like 6 months later you see it in a store and it's like, now I get it, sort of. And the third time you see it, it's like, yeah, I need it. But if you sort of like grew into that process, like growing into like falling in love, then you're going to appreciate for the rest of your life. So we try to have that say, and I think that my advice to myself would be accept the ugliness, don't try to be perfect. That's
Very
so
nice.
boring.
Yeah.
Well, looking at all of you in the audience, I can see that none of you are perfect either. This is, and I mean that in the most, I mean that in the most loving, charming way. But thank you very much for coming and listening to our Confessions of a Designer. I've been Simon Keen-Cowell from Architonic, Geza Hansen, Christopher Fagerström, and obviously the German Design Council, the Rathverforming. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.